Okay, all nice and unmasked, and is it perfect? No, it's not, and it actually looks great not being perfect. Little bleeds here and there, looks normal. Now, it still has to come, there's two little like gray eyes that are going to appear on each side of that, and of course some erosion. I'm going to shave this edge here with the edge shaver tomorrow when it's dry, and then I will come in and maybe dabble some blue here and there to show the blue coming through where the white is. But you can see our general color scheme is working. You can even see how the texture worked really nice in the contrast in the back there. This piece is going to be darker, as is these side pieces right here are going to be, I'm going to mask them off and hit them a little bit darker before I start the texturing. We also, those little indentations, there's one there, there's one inside of there. These are from magnets. We got a hold of some neodymium magnets. They also go here. That way we don't need to permanently glue this in. When that armature is in, it will stay here because of the magnet and then click down, and then this piece will attach because of these two magnets and these two magnets. I'm going to click them right in here. So I'm going to actually epoxy those in, and they're just little disc magnets you can get at any hobby store or Home Depot. We're going to put those in so that this will be able to be disassembled later. I want those to be dry before tomorrow, and plus I want this all to dry a little bit more. I'll be doing a lot more masking on this surface, and I'll be kind of messing around with it some more. So we're going to let this dry overnight, and then come back tomorrow, finish the last gray there, and then start doing all the texturing, and then the final assembly. And that's about it so far, but looking pretty good. I am happy with the blue. It could be a little bit lighter, but I'm not worried about that because I'm actually going to come in and lighten it a little bit with some white stippling that is going to go over some areas to make it kind of look kind of dull, but also just maybe a light fog of white, and it'll give it the look of oxidized paint. May even use texture stencil. Yeah, oxidation. Looks gonna look bitchin'. Very happy with this so far. It's coming out killer. So we will see you in the next step. Okay, after a night of drying, I came in and basically laid out the areas I'm going to paint next. I figured since they're in two different zones, the eyes here and then the side and the back, I could mask them off at the same time and not worry about any overspray. Plus, they're both going to be just darker colors. Any contamination is going to look pretty good. This is going to be a gray I made with white and black sealer, the same black sealer I was using previously on the areas that went metallic on this. And then I used the same black sealer, and I was going to remember kind of blend black sealer on top of this. I decided to mix it with the blue itself so it wouldn't dominate too much, and it gives me a little bit of a third color in there, not just black stippling on top. So I'm going to come in and first off just hit these eyes and see where's my gray mixture. I got it right here. I'm going to hit it real lightly. First do a little test spray on the... Yeah, that's not bad. Looking good. If you're wondering how I laid these out, I literally just eyeballed them. I did use a circle template just to draw out on the paper, and you can kind of see the black line. I drew it out using a grease pencil. And the reason I like Stabilos or grease pencils on these this tape is if you don't like what you did, you can just a little spit on a rag and wipe it off, or just some cleaner water, whatever. It comes right off of this tape. And you don't inundate it, but it wipes off really nicely, and you don't have to press very hard. With pencil, you can draw on this with pencil, but you have to press a little bit harder, and it doesn't transfer as easily. And if you're on fresh paint, you can leave marks behind. So the grease pencils, whether they be white or black or blue, they work fine. I use the water-based grease pencils just in case anything gets involved with the paint. It doesn't cause fishshine or anything. So I'm going to come in and just lightly spray this. I'm not going to give it a full coat of this gray because I want it to be really faint. But I also want it to kind of have not a perfect look to it. Like it's not a perfect tone. It's kind of thrashed and battle worn. I'm going to do a little bit of that stippling technique. Take this end cap off, makes it spit better. Stippling is just basically pulling back the trigger, loading up the tip with paint, and then spraying it. And it leaves stipples behind, texture. And I'm going to keep this gray here because I'm also going to use it probably a little bit later on some of the texturing and weathering. So I'm not going to clean this brush. I'll keep this gray in here. Make sure that's the same. I got to make sure it's the same tone, the same mottled effect over the whole piece. That's good. That'll work. Then the other color is going to be that blue and black sealer. which you can see almost has like a turquoisey look to it. Just when I mix that black and the blue together, it kind of did that. That's fine. It's going to be just a tint on top of that, and I'm just darkening it. And that's really it. You know, I think I didn't do very much on there, but look at the difference between that color and that color there. And I'm not making it even. I'm purposely kind of, I'm going to use this also as weathering on the blue later, the same color. So I'll keep this in the brush as well. I will emphasize the crease in here to make it look like extra grime has gotten inside that crease. So just do that. And then back here, same thing. I'm just darkening this because I want it to pop out from the other blue. Now I'm painting on the tape right here because I'm hitting the edge. I want it to be a little bit darker along this edge. That'll work, kind of like that. And I'll do the same stipple trick. Might as well. Got it masked off, got it ready, so might as well hit it with some texture. Not a whole lot. Just enough to look good. And then the whole helmet itself is going to be hit with texture as well later. So we have these different layers of texture and stipple. Now, what other ways of texturing can you do? Well, you can do ragging or marbleizing, using different, plastics or rags themselves to kind of give a texture to it. You can also use a texture stencil. This one right here, Gerald Mendez texture stencil. I use this. I'll probably use this to create like a light oxidation pattern on the blue and maybe just some streaks in some different areas, especially around the corrosion. I might use this for some of the busted up areas, because if you look at this area, that would kind of look like some blaster damage. I'll do that with some silver and then kind of dauble it. I'll use a little bit of brush technique, airbrush technique. Scotch-Brite. Yeah, you can use these. It is a prep tool, but it's also a very good texturing tool for painting. And not just rubbing away dry material. I'll come in and spray something wet. Sometimes I'll use an old Scotch-Brite I'm not going to use anymore. By the way, when you're using Scotch-Brites with wet paint to create, mottled thrashed surfaces, don't go back and use it on another project, because you'll be rubbing in that paint from the wet paint that got on it. So this is a used old Scotch-Brite. I'll probably use that for some of that. And then I'll put off the side, make sure I'll kind of have these, sometimes I'll spray the corner really heavy with black paint, and that way I know this is just a wet texture tool, and I won't accidentally grab it when I need to scuff something before it's cleared. So let me give a couple of seconds for these stipples to dry, and then I will unmask it, and we'll see where we're at. At that point, we're pretty much done with our hardcore masking, and actually hardcore, I meant large scale masking, and all we're going to be doing from now on is adding battle damage, scars, and just little things here and there, maybe a little few touch-ups if we need them, and then it'll be clear coat and we'll be done. Got her all unmasked, and you can see it's very, very pretty. I can imagine if Bo-Katan, when she first got her helmet, it looked like this. Then she wore it, and it was destroyed. But I'm pretty happy with the color differentiation. Back here, you see I use a little bit of Gerald's texture stencil, just to kind of texture that up. We're going to use that throughout this whole piece. We're going to kind of muddy up the rest of this to kind of match the areas that are already kind of starting to be textured. I'm probably going to mask this edge off a little bit to make sure some of the blue I do up in here doesn't get into the white. But I'm also going to break into this with some blue to look like this. This paint's on top of the blue. And I want to show some areas that are maybe worn away down to the blue. Well, it's too difficult to control that when you're actually sanding. If on blue, if I made this all blue and I put white on top of here and to sand it down, you wouldn't get the look that you want real quick. It's usually a time-worn effect. So we're going to mimic that. But to do that correctly, I can't have an edge right here. I have a slight edge. So we're going to fix that using a new product out here called Edge Master. You may have seen me advertise this. Made by me and my son Simon, hence the SFD, Simon Fraser Designs. This is a tool that I've had a version of. I've played around with off and on for the last 30 years. I've seen different people come up with different versions of them. Some people just hold the razor blades. The design is it's a little 3D printed handpiece that holds a rubber band it holds razor blade. It's held on there by a rubber band, so it's spring-loaded with a soft surface right there. We got like a Velcro on there. And then you can just run this along a surface to scrape the paint without damaging the area. Now, you can zoom in there, you can kind of see the little black. It's like a little paint there. It's not much. Trust me, that's enough that you can feel. And if you can feel it, a lot of times you can see it. So I'm just going to run that along this edge. That's the only edge that really was bugging me, because the other edge I could carefully stand up that a little bit, but right here I'm going to do a breakaway where I'm going to come in with some blue and stipple it in here to look like the white's worn away, and it'll lose the effect if there's an edge right there. So you can also, nice thing, unlike you can do with a plastic, with just a blade in your hand without worrying, you can, I keep thumb tension right there and go back and forth to kind of just almost sand it with this blade without worry. I can't feel it at all. It's totally gone. So a little bit right here. Let's get rid of this sucker right there. These areas are the ones I'm going to be eroding because they get the most wear. So I definitely want to sand those out. But mostly used for graphics, but any taped edges, lettering, anything you want where you need to eliminate that. Now, if this was harder paint, like this was a catalyzed paint or if it was clear coat, I would end up actually swapping out, because when your Edge Master kit, you come with 2 spare plastic blades, and you also have a metal blade that's been hand contoured. It's not sharp. It's been dulled, rounded, and then curved on the edges. This right here, you just swap it in to this one, and as you go along, it'll take off the really hard to get paint, because some of that catalyzed paint is probably just as tough as this dang razor blade, so the plastic one. So that's the kit right there. Comes in a cool little box, and if you're interested in where to get one, you can get them through Createx at Airbrush Paint Direct. You can also get them through Spray Gunner online. You can also get them through Coast Airbrush. Dave Monig has them, and let's not forget our buddy Manny over at Tropical Glitz is carrying them. And for those of you overseas, guess who has them? Yes, your buddy in Ireland, Simon Murray, or Simon Murray Designs. He carries them as well. So those are all distributors at this point. Down the road there might be more, hopefully. But you can pick one up, $22.95, and that's it. That's all it takes, and great little tool, trust me. You'll be glad you have this. Even the guys that hold the blades by hand, this is a freaking time saver. This can save you an hour on a car, a full vehicle with flames, instead of just holding that blade and just doing that, really. So, because I know I've done that. Anyway, enough shameless plugs from my son Simon, from Simon Fraser Designs. There you go, Simon, there's your plug. What other tools we're going to use on this? Well, I told you we're going to use some texturing tools and stuff. We've got our Gerald Mendez texture stencil, which is probably the stencil I use the most, which is ironic. It's the one, out of all 50 designs I've done for Art Tool, the one I use the most I didn't design. Gerald Mendez, good friend of mine, genius artist, and freaking best texture stencil ever. So we're going to use that as well as good old-fashioned stuff. Brush. I actually went through Chris Arvin's cabinet here at Createx and just went, let me see what I can find. Found this. Found a chip brush. I'm like, ooh, those are always fun to play with to get modeling, stippling, whatever. And we mentioned our Scotch-Brite. We're not going to do any actual scratching techniques, so those brushes we're going to use to kind of brush those out, but let us not forget, I said I needed a sponge. Well, this is about as well, it was in the kitchen sink here at Createx. So we do have everything from the kitchen sink now in this video. I'm just going to peel this off, make the maid really upset, tear off a piece of this. Now, you might prefer to use sea sponge or whatever. That's cool. I'm not going to run down to Michael's and Hobby Lobby or whatever and grab a sea sponge, but this will work fine. I'll tear it and make it ragged and use it for just blotting and dabbing the paint itself. So you can go and stock up at your local crafty shop and buy everything. I can just go and just raid your drawer in your kitchen and find a bunch of cool stuff here and there. So we don't need really, really super fine detail brushes. Unlike the Boba Fett helmet where I had to actually do some lettering and writing in it and these are just being used to, make mess. So don't use your really good brushes. Don't be using your wife's eyebrow brush or your wife's toothbrush or whatever. Use things that you don't really care much about, because we're just going to be thrashing on them. And that's about it. So I think at this point, we're probably going to zoom in with some different camera angles. I'm just going to be doing some modeling and working on this. First, let's bring some of this blue into the white before I start discoloring this blue. And then we're going to add, using Quicksilver and gray, add some battle damage modeling in the blue itself. Because right now, and then we got to do something about this white. It's too freaking pretty. So, you know, first time riding it on the speeder, it's done. So we're going to go and blast it, and that's it. So see you in a few. Okay, got a little bit of a different camera angle for you guys. I'm going to wet this brush now. This is experiment. I haven't done this yet. On this helmet, of course, but so we're going to kind of see if I like the way, I'm trying to figure out different ways to create this mottled appearance that looks like pitting or pock marking on the helmet itself. I'm going to go into the black as well as, and I'll go all the way into the blue just in case you can still see that texture later, but I'm just kind of seeing if I just can, you know, what gives me the best look like paint being removed. Now, of course, this looks wet right now, so it's not going to give me that effect. But kind of digging this. This has worked good. And on most brushes, if you do this, you're going to be ruining the brush in the long run because you're just kind of smashing it. But this one, it actually, I kind of like it. It kind of works pretty good. I'm going to do a couple here and there. I take advantage of the fact that I underlaid some of this graphic here, so I'm just going to use the stippling to hide that. Had a little damage there, that damage is gone. They don't have to be all the same size. So this is pitting, pock marking. And then where else would you have pitting and pock marking? Well, you would have it on leading edges. Now, this is the underlying paint, is this blue. But underlying the blue would be the metallic silver of the metal of this helmet. So we're going to have some of that in there too. But right here, just doing some pitting. I'll have a lot of. It's almost like there's a level of, like, we'll have blue, and then maybe in the center of all this blue pitting will be some silver. Because kind of like it's worn down the white down to the blue, and then it's worn the blue down to the silver. So we're going to make a big kind of a blobby area of blue here that I'll come in with silver on to show that. And then just random little bits here and there. Also looking a little bit at an example of one of the helmets I found online, just to kind of look at some of the battle scars and damage. There's an area, it was like a scratch, so we'll do that right here. And we added a loud noise. Not like a video without production issues. Don't worry, kids, it wasn't anything important. Okay, keep on working on this. I'm going to have a couple of lines or some battle damage that kind of scratches down into this direction, kind of going across here, like someone struck or just something streaked by and hit this. So I'm going to do a little bit of the blue, and I'll continue it, I'll sketch it with this so I can see my reference later, because I can still see that there. So I know that this is going to be one streak going this way, and I got another one that's right about here. I like that. Anything else I want to do? Let's bust up this edge here, just for the sake of it. Now, you just don't want to go too crazy. You want to keep it random. If it looks too like you planned it, like you plotted this thing out and it's very structured, it's not going to look good. So you want to keep a randomness about that and about this. Every now and then you can just have a couple here and there. You know, just a few pits. You want to combine the actual brushed in texture as well as, and then I'm going to come in and brush that in a little bit to hide some of that area right there. It looks like it needs a little bit extra paint. You want to combine the actual stippling where you're splattering paint and then making things look splattered. So you gotta make sure it doesn't look too planned. Also, just not so freaking random. I've seen some people texture and damage things where it's like, dude, back off, it's not that messed up. Okay, let's go to the other side and we'll see if I can find another Yeah, I got some battle damage on the other side too of this image. And I'm going to come in here, same kind of thing. You know, and I'm going to wear this area. The edge is going to be worn too, because it's like both edges are damaged there. Gets a lot of you. If you throw the helmet down, you know, and it hits something, it's going to be damaging this. So, and then if you strike it across something, there's going to be some damage along this area. Okay, well, I'm going to keep on doing this blue for a little bit, and then when I'm done with the blue, we'll come back and I'll show you what our next step is going to be. I got a little bit of that gray I did here in the brush, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a stipple over the whole thing, because this is going to just kind of depict just dirt, sand, pitting, wear, whatever. Not a lot, just a little bit. And this is going to go over the entire piece. I want this to have an even stipple. You may not notice it, but trust me, it stands out. Even the blue's going to get some of this. It's just going to be kind of like a dirt. Had some paint on my finger. Looks like I left some behind there accidentally. Huh, guess what? Extra wear. It's one of those nice effects where when you make a mistake, you just like, or you do something, you know, oh, I left a mark there. Oh, okay, well, let's work with it. You might actually leave 2 marks there next time because it looks better. Okay, that's enough stippling, but I am also going to come in using the Gerald Mendez texture stencil and just do some light, just not very much, just a little bit of, so I move it a little bit and it gives it that, this overall thrash look, and that works. That works for me very nicely, I like that. And then I'm going to create a little bit of a area here in gray because there's going to be a lot of battle damage right around here, so no sense keeping the gray all to myself. And this way it kind of oxidizes out the blue, see? The blue looks like it's a little bit faded up here now because of oxidation. A little bit on the sides as well, not much. A little bit here and there. Once you use something, make sure you use it. I get that finger mark back there, so I'm going to hide it with the texture stencil. I can always come in with more blue, even that damaged thrash disease blue I used earlier. I'm kind of digging that, it's even better. Edge of the visor, that inside edge will be dirty. Areas, you think about areas that are difficult to get to and clean would be dirty. Areas you're not going to care about. Areas that you're going to be contacting a lot, you know, when you're grabbing something. You know, these tips. This area down here. The bottom edge of things. Those areas get wear. There's very little rhyme or reason to that stencil. I'm just dragging it around, but look at it now. I mean, look at the helmet now. Now it's starting to take on some actual character. It's starting to look nice and thrash. That makes me happy. So, put down this airbrush and grab the one that has the dark blue I used in there earlier, and I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to create some damage halo. Let's make sure this is the right color. Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Where that scratch is, that goes across, that I did. And guess what we're going to do? The same exact thing. We're going to stipple this too. But I'm going to try and not get this around the blue, the white, because this is blue. The areas underneath. I'm going to look at that reference picture again real quick on the back, see if I got any. Yep, I got a couple of little battle damage scars going in a diagonal. Remember I had a couple, so I could come in and hit those just lightly. And not to mention the whole bottom edge got a little bit of a bit of that stippling. That natural dark thrashed area. Yeah, much nicer. Now I tried the gray on this. It was too light. It worked great for the oxidation on the top, but I didn't like it directly over the blue when I'm doing this. Let's see if the other. Okay. I'm going to have just a couple little halo spots there, little. And let's not forget our stippling on the top. We want some of the stipple to be up here. Just dirty the helmet up nicely. In doing this, it's very easy to get nervous. Like, oh, I don't want to ruin the helmet. You can't ruin the helmet. You know, if you say you do too much in one area, you always come back and respray that area. It's not the end of the world. Matter of fact, if you think about it, this helmet's been resprayed by Bo-Katan a couple times. I'm doing some of that gray with the blue on it. You know something? It doesn't bother me on the white. I thought it was going to stand out more. It's such a grayish blue. The white dominates it and just makes it look like it's gray. So I'm fine with that. And of course, let's give us those, let me see, what was battle damage streaks? There's one here. You can see it. There's one here that goes across. I'm going to do that. And then this area that's just kind of eroded. Got a little bit of that green in there. You know something? It's not bad. Just kind of looks like a stain. You just want to give continuity to the damage. You don't want to leave a clean spot. That'll look weird. Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to give it a once over, see if I missed anything with my gray, and then we'll come back and start actually putting in some of the raw silver damage on the helmet.